What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on today's video today. I'm Jess.
I'm Mom.
And you're watching Keto Rewind. This is the final video. It's the recap. And it's
toolbox.
It's the one that all makes sense, and we should all have a completed toolbox by now. And now, once we have the toolbox, what do we do with it?
How do we use it?
So let's jump right into that. So just a quick recap. The first part, or the first week of this series, we did before pictures, inspirational pictures, that type of thing. Then we had positive positive affirmations, and then we had what's your why? Why are you doing this? And that was a huge, big one. That one was like
that's
swinging.
A soul searcher.
That was. So now the second one was you need a release. So when you're spiraling, you need something to get it out. You need hope, something that gives you hope, and then something that makes you smile.
Every single time.
And then the part 3 was you need a good book that you can get lost in, something that inspires you, something
Words of wisdom,
a book, a podcast, a book, a podcast, something like a playlist, something like that, an online community. And then the next thing is you need rescue meals. When you fall off the wagon, what is a tried and true meal that'll get you back going again? And at least 3 days of that. And finally, a grounding tool, something that just brings you back.
Takes you for a walk in the woods.
Takes you back to the way it's supposed to be, you know. So now here we are at the recap. This is now, okay, so this is all done. You've got a book full of content for a book full of tools on how to fix you. Now what do you do with them? So for me, I guess I'll talk about how I'm going to take these tools. I divided mine up into, I left the meals out of it because, that's something that's, pretty self-explanatory, but I did divide up all of this challenge into 3 sections. One I considered an action, 2 is like a quote or inspiration, and 3rd is something physical that you can do.
Now that's what works for
That's what's working for me.
That may not work for you. You might need 6 of them.
Yeah,
you might
may have
just
more
one.
categories.
You might not need any. This is just how she is planning to use
my
the resources in her box.
So here I am. My anxiety's off the charts. I'm spiraling, I'm drowning, and I'm putting my hand up
because one bad comment.
Help! This is my plan. So I go into my toolbox. I'm going to pick of my things. I have 3 categories, remember? I'm going to pick something in I'm gonna shuffle these cards so they're always in a different order. And I'm gonna pick one from this pile, one from this pile, and one from this pile.
Power of 3. There's going the power of 3.
So I'm going to draw. So for instance, we're just gonna take the first one here off the front, so it's easy. But I'm gonna draw one, like this. Okay, so I want.
It's like picking your angel cards.
I want this one. So this is the first one. I'm going to read them all at the end. I'm going to take an action. And I have to do all 3 of these things. That's the deal with myself. I don't get a pass card. I don't have time. I don't have all, no. So, all right.
So even if you don't want to do what's on them, you have to be committed 100% to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can't draw another card because it makes you feel good.
You have to do it. That's why this is in here. So the first card that I drew was a positive thought. You're one decision away from a totally different life. That means my next thing that I do, I'm going to choose to be great. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to fall back into the old me. I want to be great, and I'm one decision away from being great, and I just got to do it. I'm one decision away from falling apart. So what do I want more? So I want to be great. So that one is a good reminder for me. The next one, it's pull-up time.
That would be my favorite card.
If you've been following me, you know I have a pull-up bar in my laundry room that's off my kitchen. So I like to go yank on that several times a day and work on my pull-ups. It also gets like, little frustration out, and that's my one physical activity.
And if you put on 5 pounds, it's going to be harder to pull it all up.
Yeah, it is, exactly. I know when I gain,
It will remind you.
I get heavier, and those pull-ups get harder
Yeah.
when I gain.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, well, clear my social calendar. Tonight, Kyle and I are going out for a date night.
Mom, you got the kids.
So that would be what I would do that day. No matter what. That means, clear your social calendar. This is what's happening. And that's going to be how I'm rescuing myself that day.
If Kyle's not available, we'll make Pop watch the kids and we're going out. But you have to do what's on the card.
That's how it works. You've got to. This is going to snap you out of it. This is going to give you
This makes you
yourself back.
It rates you back up.
So that's mine, and I don't know if you want to explain yours, but that's my way that I'm righting the ship.
I think for myself, I almost went in my box every day for the whole duration because I always felt like, this isn't happening to me. This is just like all the rest. I'm going to lose, 70 pounds. I lost the same 50 pounds 10 times,
Me too.
Yeah. So I was still not convinced that this was the one time that was going to be it. So once my toolbox, which was all complete, which is about maybe 2 months into...
And adding to that comment, anytime you come across, now that you know what's in it, that would be great for my box.
Throw it in your box.
So I only have like 10 quotes or 10 words of wisdom. I hope my stack is that thick someday because I'm like, ooh, that should go in my box. This way you have more variety when you need to have rescuing.
Right. And even if you have to, I know myself, I think I totally went through my box at least once a week. Depending, life is hectic back then. The kids were young.
Not an excuse.
I know, but sometimes I didn't get to it all, but I was doing it every day, And I think that, again, you have to find out what works for you. For me, I needed it constantly in my face for the reality of the situation because I'd never been able to do this before for so long.
And adding to that, why did it never work in the past?
Right.
She didn't have a toolbox.
I didn't have a box. I didn't have a
insanity
box.
Was the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
So this was
time
different.
to stop the insanity and start living again.
Because I have to say, when they first talked about the toolbox, to me that was insanity. I'm like, okay, it's another freaking trick. None of the tricks worked before. So what makes this time different? So I think just committing to the box, because here's what you got to look at. This box is you. This is an extension of you.
That's what your code right there.
Yeah.
You have to unlock the treasure.
This is your treasure box
to get you to your healthy self. And that's all about improving yourself, humbling yourself, grounding yourself, because there's been times where I've thought I got too conceited or I know too much, just for one of my old habits to pop up and rear its ugly head.
Oh, yeah.
And you never you can't ever think you're going to be over this. Like, I was morbidly obese for 17 years. That's not something that you just flip a switch and it's over. I will be battling my weight until
forever.
It'll always be something that I have to fight for.
You're one French fry away from 300 pounds.
Pretty much is what it comes down to. So, and I know that my old way of living was not a path to getting me to live a healthy and happy and fulfilling life. So I had to make the change, and that's one of the things that you just have to make that choice. Do you want a different life, or do you want to make excuses and keep doing the same thing and have the pity party? It's up to you.
One of the things that we learned in the support group is that when people have issues with obesity, they're not just physical issues, they're always emotional issues. And coming along with that, they talked a lot about addiction. And the addiction, through the weight loss process, your need to fill an addiction will be with you for the rest of your life. But the goal is to transfer addiction. You can even look at that.
In a positive way. You don't need to become an alcoholic.
Don't take up doing street heroin. But if you even look that up, we as human beings, it's very easy for us to have a transfer addiction. So the hope is that through the box, this toolbox, your transfer addiction will be to take care of yourself, not to destroy yourself.
I feel like I have 107,000 babies now, because I feel like I've took the emotional side that just drove me miserable and unhappy, and I learned from that. And my passion now is to help as many people as I can. And if that means I have one follower or 110,000, but I helped me so that it's passion. My new addiction now is helping others.
Okay, yeah.
My addiction was turn to food and drown yourself and
forget that all that crap that they tell you, because that's not the reality of who you are.
Right. So, and I didn't know I even cared about anyone else's success. Like I never was on my radar. And now it's like all I think about is how many people can I help? I know how miserable it was, and I don't want you to spend one more day unhealthy and unhappy with yourself, self-hating than possible. If I can do one thing, I just want to change as many lives as possible. So it's now my addiction to eating everything under the kitchen sink has now moved to something that gives me fulfilling and rewarding, just self-rewarding, like it makes me feel good, and I don't have that drive to constantly eat is being replaced by how many people can I help, how many people can I bring along with me, and let's do this together, safety in numbers.
And like for me as a nurse, of course caring is part of who I am. And going through this journey and finally deciding that it's okay to care for me, not just for everybody else.
No shame in being
was huge. That was a huge reality. But that box helped me learn to care for myself.
Remind you.
Absolutely. And now even till this day, yes, I know caring is always going to be part of who I am as a healer and as a nurse and as a mom and all that stuff. But now, when I see a really obese person, part of me goes, oh, I know I could help them. If I could just get them to do one thing today.
And I do say I know it's a lot more.
You can't help but, you know why? Because we know how
we know how it
feels.
It's the worst feeling in the world.
Other people are looking at you, and and you know what? It's human nature. That's how we sum ourselves up.
That's how we define ourselves.
If somebody tells you, oh, I never define myself on how I look. Oh, bullshit. Because that's not human nature. Human nature is exactly the opposite of that. So
we are vain.
Right. And you know what?
Not that it's bad, but we are.
But you will find also, once you get a handle on this, there's never going to be perfection, but you got to be consistent, because it's consistency over perfection. But once you get to that point, you're going to find yourself in the same situation. You'll see somebody and you'll say, oh, I know I could help them if they would just listen to me for a little bit and do one thing different today.
One thing that I do now that I normally never did, and part of it's probably because I grew out of my shell in this process.
You actually talk to people.
I talk to people.
She actually talks to people. Usually I'm always doing the talking.
If I see somebody that has a really pretty shirt on, I say, hey, you look really pretty today. I love your shirt. Just a small little thing can really put a smile on somebody's face. It doesn't have to be weird. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out. It's like, wow, what a really pretty shirt. That looks lovely on you. Or, man, you have nice makeup today. It's just something that...
I love your hair.
If you see something, it's okay to say something in a way that makes you feel like that person should feel well. Right. If you say, oh, looks like you're putting on some pounds, it's like... come on now, what's wrong with you? It's like, that's not
unicorn fingers up.
You're the problem in this world. The sky is so bright because it is full of stars.
And if you're under a cloud, walk away and look for the sun.
Look for those stars, because the more stars that are in the world, the better. If there's just one, how boring would that be? So lift each other up. And don't be afraid of giving someone else a compliment. It could make a huge change in somebody's day.
And if it's somebody in your family or that you know personally or have some kind of a connection to, and I'm talking about more than just a casual connection, you could always put the seed out there and say, if you ever need any help and maybe like coming up with some meals, or if you just need someone to talk to, or if you kind of would like to, if you need some help, you need a shoulder to lean on, because, be there for that person. Plant that seed, because you never know. They may wake up one day and say, she's done so well. I wished I could learn how to do it that way too. And if you've already, well, she told me to talk to her, right? So don't be afraid to plant a seed in somebody else that will grow into help their own tree grow from the ground.
Or maybe if they were wondering if they could talk to you, you just affirmed that you could.
That you can. You're open to that. Be open.
Be open. Yeah. So I don't know
if
when
you help others, you also help yourself. If you train and teach others, you also learn.
All right. So on that note, comment below if you've liked this toolbox challenge. I suspect there'll be a lot of resistance on a topic like this, because you can't grow until you dig deep and find the source of your problems, and all this stuff is deep, and it also can put some people in a bad place to bringing old stuff up.
And if that should happen, and
you're digging in the wrong place.
Well, and if this is more than you can handle because it's bringing up things that maybe you've either not dealt with, or
seek a professional.
Please go and get help.
Don't be afraid. There's no shame in being better.
And if there's a support group out there, you're not alone. We all got baggage.
But keep in mind, life is not easy. There's beauty in the mess, and this is going to be...
There's always beauty in the mess.
This journey is going to be worth it. It's going to be so hard, and this is when you're going to find out that it's not about the food. It's about getting your mind back, and that starts making small little victories that turn into the happy ending. So
and remember, you can change.
You can change. Where's your card?
It's in my back pocket.
Alrighty. I'm Jess. This is Mom. Have a good one.
Good luck.
You can love
yourself.
Do it. Bye.
Bye-bye.